Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Erasmus Expeditions. This is a campaign that has been ongoing for quite some time here on the channel, though it has been a little while since we've managed to get together to play a session of it. So I'm really happy that even though it's at kind of an odd time for us to play, that we were able to get together and sit down for a new session of this. So tonight is going to be session 47 of Beneath the Banner's Shadow. This is a Cortex Prime campaign that is set in a fantasy version of medieval England, Germany, with a lot of Arthurian myths kind of interjected. But this episode is going to be titled Splinters of Wood and Bone. I'm really stoked that we're getting back to this story. We kind of left in a, I don't want to call it a low note. It is a low note, emotionally speaking, but a high note, somatically speaking. So I'm very eager to finally be kind of getting back to this story that we've been telling. But before we do, just a few points of business that I want to go over. The first of which is that I would like to thank our artists who worked with us, Rachel Ayers and Augusto. Rachel Ayers designed most of the shields that you will see, throughout the story of our game, that kind of represent the different houses. She was a fantastic artist to work with. And Augusto was commissioned by Steve to make the fantastic character portraits, the PC art that you also see here on the overlay. I can't speak to how he was to work with as an artist because Steve commissioned him, but I am amazed that we have custom art for this game. That's a really badass feeling. I guess I should also take a moment to give you the same warning that I give on the beginning of all of my games, and that is, if foul language is something that is offensive to you, if mature subject matter is something that bothers you, then this is probably not a good game for you to watch. But if those kinds of things do not bother you, then you might be in the right place. Stick around a while. Stay a while and listen. I'm going to give things over to my players now so that they can introduce themselves, tell you where you may be able to find them on the internet, anything that they may want to plug, and then we're going to get this ball rolling. So we're going to start with Karen.
Hello, everyone. I'm Karen, also known as Myth and Gears. You can find me here. Here. I will live here. And also on Mini Train Domain on every other Tuesday. That's where I am at. Very happy to be back here. It's been a while, and I'm so very excited. And I will pass it on.
Yeah, I'm really stoked. After 5 years, we've finally been getting into Ari's story, finding out what exactly makes her so grouchy all the time. But no, it's been a fantastic thing to watch develop and bloom, and I'm very eager to get back to it. So speaking of very eager, next up we have Baron.
Oh man, I don't really know how to follow that up. So I'm Baron. I don't really have a presence much online. I did get the opportunity to run a game, 3 of them actually, on this channel that is concluded. It was a real fun time for me. I can't speak for everyone, but I had a good time, and I hope everyone else did too. But regardless, I play Massacrator, the rough and tumble out of depth, and here to help his friends. Half orc. We're just hanging out, really.
Like you do. Yeah, man, that the Willow game that you ran was incredible. I absolutely loved it. It's awesome because I don't get the chance to play in games on the channel. So getting that opportunity, I was really happy that you came to me with that idea and that it worked out. Looking forward to whenever we're able to do another one. All right. Speaking of looking forward to, next up we have Eli.
Hello, everyone. I'm Eli Sullivan Kurtz, and I'm thrilled to be here back in our very own expansive IP. Gonna explore a new corner of it today, and won't that be a treat? I am genuinely excited. It's been like 3 months, and I've missed everybody, and I've missed this game, and I've missed Sir John. By the way, I'm playing Sir John Lightnor, a Knight of the Realm, former squire to Sir Dane, and apparently towards biological father in some way. But I also publish games under the Mythic Gazetteer, and most recently I put out a Star Wars knockoff in November that's great. You play out the story of the rebellion rising up against the Empire. That's like the corner of it that I focused on. And, you know, other games are in the works. I've got too many open text documents and open map files and all kinds of stuff, but you know what? We're chipping away. We're going to get there, and it's going to be a good day when we do.
That's incredible, man. I'm really excited for you. It's both exciting and exhausting to have so many different projects at once. It's awesome to be able to just kind of constantly be creative, but at the same time, I don't know about you, but I find for myself, like, my tank gets emptied and I'm like, but
my worst nightmare is that all of these projects are going to get to the final 10% stage at the same time, because that is by far the worst part of a project. Yeah. And if I have to do it 8 times at once, I might not survive.
Yep. That's the truth. Oh man. But it's worth it. It's amazing to have the opportunity to be able to be a creative, which is one of the reasons why I love being able to sit down and do these games and play with all of you. So, speaking of love, last but certainly not least, we have Steve.
Hey, that's me. I'm Steve. I also was paid to speak words about this, much like Eli. No, I'm just kidding. No, dude, I'm super excited. I also missed last session, so it's been even longer for me than for everybody else. And it's one of those things, man. Like, you don't realize how close you get to people online and groups like this until you don't interact with them on a constant basis for long periods of time. And so excited to be back. I play Dane, who is every bit as pessimistic and whiny as Ari is grouchy. So we're the perfect pairing until she abandons me. That is. Yeah, excited to get back to this, and I guess that just leaves one question, and I'll let Baron field it.
Can we play now?
Bravo.
Perfection. I suppose so. Let's see. Buttons. Who's got the buttons? All right, let's do this. All victory comes at a cost. Yet, the one who enjoys the spoils of that victory may not always be the same one who pays its price. Too often, are people willing to sacrifice on behalf of someone else when it means it is they who may profit? Regardless of who tips the scales, this exchange takes place all the same. It is only when the great sacrifices you make are personal that you can truly appreciate a victory. For when you finally hold that coveted prize in your bloodied hands, you will also feel the splinters of what was destroyed beneath the soles of your feet. We rejoin the group of you. Some of you, weapons still in hand, still catching your breath from the exertion that you have just had, fighting here in the Greywood Grove, far, far north of Ginden's Wall. Behind you even now are the druids that kind of form this buffer between the human realm and that of the elves. You are deep in elvendom at this point, deep in forest that is older than the oldest person you can personally name, for some of you at least. The Greywood Grove is a collection of purposefully planted trees. Whenever they inter an elf here, they do so by planting a seed with them. So these trees form tombstones, the grave markers of elves that have lived throughout the ages of the endless wood. Amid this sacred site, Ariana is knelt on the ground, cradling the top half of a small half-elven child. Bodhi lies unconscious in your lap, Ariana. The trees that he had brought to false life have now stopped in their locomotion, rerouted themselves, albeit in different positions and in somewhat twisted forms of mid-combat. The detritus around you and the leaves that have been disturbed during this combat are still kind of settling down all around you. This green, teal, blue light seems to kind of illuminate the forest around you. This entire grove is aflame with this bluish green light. The barrier that had surrounded the larger grove, this globe of darkness that you had to penetrate to even get here, is now starting to dissipate the way ink does in water. It is just pulling itself apart and dissipating. So as we find the group of you in the aftermath of this moment, when you had to face Ariana's grandson, what are you doing? What is the general mood and atmosphere here?
I think at least Sir John is kind of standing silently watching Ari in this moment. He's feeling particularly unhelpful, like he doesn't have any sort of magic to speak of, and so there's nothing he can lend except kind of, solidarity. So he's kind of just standing and like sharing her kind of like a fraction of her emotion here.
Anybody else?
I mean, Tord likewise is give. I feel like Ariana kind of. I would give off a healthy distance, be like, no, I'm not gonna go over there. She'd get upset with me. She's probably already upset with me. But I would kind of like. I think Tor would step forward. I know it might not be what you want to hear, but I don't know how much time we have for moments like this. What would you like to do?
She kind of pulls herself back together. She's just been hugging this young boy, and tears have been rolling down her face. And she kind of just kind of pulls him together and says, no, you're right. We can't stay here. We can't stay here. We must tell the others what has happened. We've got to put an end to this. They're targeting our family. And she looks at Dane, knowing that he's gone through this with his sister. Tord with his wife.
And siblings.
And siblings.
dad.
His entire family. Yeah.
I don't think I would have come with the whole family for my character. All of them maimed, injured.
We have to put an end to it. And with that, she's going to stand up carrying Bodhi and start to walk back the way that we came.
Is there anything that you wanted to add, Dane?
I wasn't here. No, but I think in this moment there is like there's a shared sharp understanding that Dane has with Tord and with Ari in this moment. You know, it's because when it happened with his sister, it felt personal. You know, it feels private, and that you're dragging these other people into it. And it hadn't occurred to him that the Tord stuff was nearly the same. But now with Bodhi, you know, and Ari's words that they're targeting our families, like that is a mournful realization for him. And so I think he just sort of silently falls in behind Ari, you know. There's this twitching question of whether or not he should try and heal Bodhi and help him, or if he should wait for Ari to ask. And part of him's a little confused that she hasn't asked, because she did ask about the guy in the, you know, Trevon in the bed, and like what's going on. But you know, he's somewhere between trying to behave and shell shock.
Ari, as you are carrying the limp form of Bodhi, and you're kind of heading back towards the Hall of Knowledge, where you know that there are dozens of the bodies belonging to the Sisterhood of the Shield, the ones who were meant to defend this place. It's as you're carrying him back towards that destination that you notice a strange shadow kind of hanging near one of the trees of the Greywood Grove. And at first it just seems to be a dark shadow, but the closer you get, you realize that this glow that kind of emanates everywhere here isn't quite illuminating that area appropriately, the way that your brain expects that it should. And this shadow seems to almost just be watching you. You know, there's no face in it. There's no pinpricks of light to denote eyes. There's no really discernible shape that would give you any kind of indication that it's a creature, but you get the creeping sensation that this shadow is watching you pass.
I think there's a moment in that realization that there's something unknown watching that causes Ari to stumble a little bit before she catches herself and continues to walk. almost like now ignoring it, like the stumble caused her to realize, like focus back on Bodhi and getting out of here. And she tries to put that feeling aside that somebody's watching, that at this point it's like, is it in her head? Is it real? She doesn't know. And she doesn't have right now the energy to pay attention, to contemplate what it means.
So you put your focus on the steps you're taking forward, and before long, we find ourselves back in the Hall of History, what in Elven is known as the Nodel Lekisha Valertha. Nodeliksha Valertha. Who names this shit? And as you approach, again, you see the pieces of this sacred place that have been damaged, that have been broken by the massacre that has occurred here. The body of dozens of the sisterhood kind of strewn about everywhere. But again, the eerie thing is that there's way more blood, way more evidence that there were more people here than are present currently. There are bodies that are missing, beyond a doubt. But it's as you approach the doors of this place that all of you hear a very low, guttural noise. And you see the creature that you saw before the darkness enveloped the barrier when you passed through the first time. You see the stalking form of Gwynfelinarin emerging from the forest towards where you are now entering this building.
I think Sir John steps out ahead of everybody pretty much and doesn't necessarily like try to talk to this thing. I don't think he thinks that it's intelligent or has speech in that way. But he is like, his sword is out and he's got it ready to go. But he's not necessarily, advancing on this thing. He's like just on the other side of his companions and kind of being their shield.
And how are the rest of you responding?
I'm just one step behind him. Shield and sword at the ready.
Right. Sir Tord is hanging with Sir John. What about Sir Dane and Ari?
I think Dane steps out from behind Ari to in front of her. But that sort of almost uncomfortable tightness, like he's not doing the Sir John, like I'll be your shield, steps away from you. He's doing that much more hopeless, they'll have to kill me first method. Right? It's not that I'm distancing myself for combat. It's like they're literally going to have to stab through me. And so he's basically like almost like if she's got Bodhi, he's almost touching her arms where she's holding him.
Sorry, is this creature between us and the building, or?
So you're pretty sure that you could get to the door of the building before he would be able to completely cut you off, but you would probably have to run.
And we came here on horses. Is that not right? Or did we walk?
You did. You probably left your horses somewhere nearby this building. I don't imagine that you would have taken them into the Greywood Grove. It would have been pretty disrespectful.
Are the horses still here?
Yeah, I think so. I imagine there's it's probably not really like a full-on stable, but it's like a somewhat covered area that the elves would have for riders to leave their mounts. So I would imagine that that's where they are, kind of off the side of the building. And yes, you can still see them in there.
Ari is going to make a run for it, for the shelter, to place. She's got to find a place to put Bodhi at this moment, so she is going to try to get to the shelter at least to be able to put him down.
Okay. And Dane, you are staying with Ari?
The moment that I feel her bolt, there's no hope of Dane keeping up with Ari, like zero on a normal run, and a panic I have to save my family run. Yeah, that's not happening. But I will, as she starts to move, I will turn and much like Sir John and Tord, interpose myself between this and the building and this creature.
Okay. So several of you kind of turn to interpose yourselves between the advance of Gwyn Felinarin, while Ari kind of makes a dash to find a place to safely put Bodhi. This creature, this partially beast, partially man, continues to move forward, his goat-like head kind of shaking, as if some strange, sensation, some strange itch caused him to involuntarily shake his head from side to side. And he pulls back his lips so that you can see these enormous fangs that his teeth have. Again, like, the features that this creature have are that of prey animals, goat, elk, but these fangs are undoubtedly that of a predator. This amalgamation of a creature is disturbing. And you can see, now that he's closer, that this moss fur-like cape that's draped upon his shoulders and kind of runs the length of his back is caked with blood and mud. And the stench that is coming off of this thing goes beyond the earthy musk that you might expect from a creature that lives in the woods. You can also smell death and decay coming off of this creature. It approaches, lowering its head and kind of staring at you with these 3 glowing yellow eyes.
I am Gwyn Felinarin, the greatest hunter that has ever lived. I have come to collect on a promise. If I drink the last blood of Garfran Pindrake, I will be freed from my curse.
It lifts a taloned hand and extends a gnarled finger that looks like downed wood in the direction of Eddard.
Give this man to me, and the rest of you may live.
Pure
That's
silence.
a no from me.
I think Sir John kind of like in the moment just before Gwynfelinarine points at Eddard, Sir John kind of like steps and is already in front of Eddard when he points. But I don't think he says anything. He's just like all business here.
Fair enough. Ari, I'm going to say that you have managed to get to the stable area where you're able to like find some hay or something that you can lay Bodhi down into, kind of tucked behind a half wall or something. And you have no trouble hearing any of this at all. Again, when this creature speaks, it's almost like you're back in the forest north of Warrenton, when the entire tapestry of the forest would make noise at the same time and then quiet. When this creature speaks, it almost sounds like that, like all of the creatures of the forest are forming this creature's words with their noises. When it is obvious that it is not going to be a simple matter of handing Eddard over to this creature, you see a sort of wicked smile cross the face of Gwynfelinarine. And he kind of raises up again, almost to its full height, and he says,
Then let the hunt begin.
What makes you think he's the last of the blood? What if you're wrong?
Dane, you speak as this creature starts to slink backwards. It does not seem to be taking this bait.
I'm just saying, he spends a lot of time in that library with that lady.
You see nearby another structure that was in this area that you noticed when you came in. This strange circle of wood. These branches that have been kind of woven into one another and decorated with skulls. This thing known as a witch gate. You now notice that there is an individual who has stepped forward out of this witch gate, dressed in furs and hides, a wild thing of a man, a full unkempt beard and long hair that almost completely swallows his head. He steps out with a large, wicked-looking spear in one hand and the horn of a beast in the other. And he brings the horn to his lips and blows a loud, bellowing cry into this horn. And several things happen. Those of you who are watching the Witch Gate, through it, you can see a swirling mist that starts to kind of creep out, almost the way dry ice smoke does, kind of hanging close to the ground and spreading from this opening. And you can see hunters, men on horseback, creatures that run on all fours, creatures that run on two legs with bows, all of them feral and savage looking, as they begin to approach the opening of this witch's gate. And they are all calling and crying out, whooping in the sounds of excitement at a hunt beginning. The other thing that you notice, those of you who are closer to the Elven Hall, you notice something strange about the bodies of the Seldan Shieldhouses, the Sisterhood. Their spirits rise to their feet above their bodies and begin kind of looking around as if they're confused, scared. They kind of start to wander around, trying to figure out exactly what might be going on. And that's when you watch one of the arrows from one of these hunters pierce the torso of one of these elven spirits. And you watch the spirit cry out in pain as it then pulls apart, similar to the orb of darkness, like ink in water. And it completely disappears. You are fairly certain that these hunters have come to claim the souls of these dead elves. And Gwyn Felinarin seems to be intent on taking Eddard. So, what would you like to do as we enter combat?
Right away, Sir John wants to use his Know Thy Enemy ability to try and get a sense for, like, okay, so a lot of hunters just emerged from this witch gate, and Gwynfelinarine on its own is like a mighty foe. And then we've got these spirits at our back. Their combat readiness is completely unknown. He wants to assess this and find out, like, is this something we can fight against and win, or do we need to run because this is overwhelming?
So, you think that this is the kind of situation where you might be able to defeat Gwynfelinarin. You might be able to stop these hunters from harvesting the souls of these elves. But it's going to be next to impossible to do both of these things and get Bodhi out of here safely. So,
Has Ari emerged from the Hall of History at this point? Like, is she within sight or earshot or whatever?
I would imagine so at this point.
I think Sir John kind of shouts out to her, Ari, we can fight them, or we can protect these spirits, or we can escape with Bodhi. What must we do?
Real quick clarification question. Have all the hunters and hounds and beasts come through, or are they still coming through?
They are coming through. There is a considerable host of them.
So I think Ari sees what's happening here. We're about to be overrun. We've got this bad creature. He wants Eddard. Her sister's souls are being taken. Like, this shit's hitting the fan. And Ari is just goes, sisters, to me! And she's going to run for the gate. And we are going to try to destroy it. That's what we're going to try to do. That's what her plan is.
All right. So let's build a dice pool for Ari's assault on the Witch Gate.
Oh, good God. Okay, so we are going to start with her distinction. She's the pommel of Camagel.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a D8. We're going to take that. Value, this is 100% fealty at this moment. She's trying to save the souls of her, what used to be her sisters. in arms.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense.
Rolls warrior. And I'm going to add her something of blades because we're going to be taking those out as we run.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I am going to use my body as a weapon. This is a special ability. So body as a weapon, and I'm going to spend a PowerPoint to also channel my key into a powerful blow, hoping to step up my effect die for this attack.
Okay.
So I'm going to do that. Okay, so it's D8, and then I don't know how many relationships we could add, but what falls into this is, first of all, the Seldan Shalravan is definitely one, as well as Eddard himself.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I
don't know
think
if you'd
that, yeah, I don't think you can do both relationships, but
Okay.
you can choose between them. And to me, at least, it sounds more like this initial attack, this initial action
This is for the sisters.
is more about the sisters. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if that makes good sense with you, then I think that would work.
It does for me. So I'm going to roll some dice.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'm using a pool of woe to represent kind of the general threat of the hunters. And they are right now at a 4d8, so I've already made that roll as well.
Okay, so now I'm trying to remember how it works. How many do I add up?
You get to keep 2 dice. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then a third die type becomes your effect die, and it's the size of that die that matters. And then if you rolled any ones, you need to let me know, please.
Yes, I rolled 1-1.
Okay.
My numbers for the 2 I'm keeping are going to be 19. So my effect die is an 8, but I use that PowerPoint to up it, so it'll be a 10.
D10, okay. And then you're not using your effect die as a part of your total. That's the other thing that I needed to clarify. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. Okay, so you had an 18 total?
19.
A 19 total, which is fucking stellar.
I rolled a 10 and a 9 on my 2d10s. So
hell yeah. So I rolled my 4d8. My total is a 16 with a d8. So I rolled 2 at max. So it's not going to be enough to prevent you from doing your attack. But I also rolled a 1. So that becomes a chance for any of you who wishes to activate that as an opportunity. Anybody that wants to can spend a plot point, which all of you started with at least 1. You can choose to spend a plot point to create an asset, which is something that would be a beneficial die that persists through the scene that any of you can call on as long as it's justifiable in your dice pool. Does that make sense? So if you would like to do that, let me know and we'll make an asset. I don't think I'm going to activate your one. Okay. Not really anything that I can think of right now that would... Ooh. No, I take that back. I am. So you would get a plot point for that because I'm activating your hitch. So I'm going to be creating a complication that is kind of the opposite of an asset. And it starts as a d6. So we have a d6 complication that I am going to call Bodhi is in danger. So some of these hunters saw what you were doing, where you came from, and they're kind of headed that direction. Was anybody interested in cashing in a plot point to create an asset in the scene?
I have a question.
I'm not gonna
Ari's
miss it.
assault on this portal, does it look like it's going to be able to destroy this in like one go, or is this going to be an ongoing process for her?
No, this would probably take a few actions.
Then yes, if I can activate it, I'll spend the plot point.
Okay, absolutely. It also comes in
Oh.
as a D6.
Perfect. I mean, that's, anyone can use that, right?
Yes, and repeatedly.
Okay.
So what asset are you creating?
Oh man. All right. Sorry guys. It was very self-centered. I thought only I could use it, but this is what I came up with, so that's what I'm rolling with. So as Ari is, these feet are pounding across this forest floor. She's running that direction. As her feet are stamping into the ground, this soft trickle of water starts to swell up and fill those footprints until there's a small, maybe 5 foot in diameter, shallow, clean pool of water that has arisen there, that smells faintly of lilac and other washing agents, and has a unnatural sort of sunlit sparkle to it, even in this darkened forest at the moment.
Nice. Excellent. So we can even call that something like, magical conduit or something like that, So anybody who has magical abilities might be able to draw on the heightened presence of magic because of what Dane has done. That's awesome. Okay. Ari, you dash quickly across this space, closing with this witch gate, and you manage to damage it. However, it is not destroyed enough to collapse yet. So describe to me what it looks like as Ari starts to dismantle this thing, but that it still stands.
So Ari made like a direct beeline to it, and she is, as she's approaching it, she's cutting into some of the men and creatures that are coming through the gate just so she can get to it. And as she manages to close with this wooden structure, her swords just kind of dance in the air and they slice. And this is followed also by her just not only slicing, but then turning basically and like bull rushing it and attacking it with her body as well. And in the aftermath, there's this like cracks that appear in some of the structure of the ring, and the last like body punch basically kind of just starts these cracks spreading throughout the structure, weakening it, not yet destroying it, but we can see that there is considerable damage done.
Yeah, there's several of these kind of interwoven limbs that have like slid free or been cut free by Ari's blades, or knocked free from her blows. It is definitely kind of coming apart, but this has been diligently woven together, and there's a lot to it. So Ari, what was your effect die again?
A D10.
D10. Okay, cool. So that will completely knock out one of the D8s in the pool of woe, because it is a higher die type. Okay, that was Ari. What are the others of you doing?
Is the creature still here, or did it back into the forest?
It kind of backed up a little bit, but it is definitely engaged in fighting. It looks like it might be kind of more like a stalking predator, and that's kind of what it's getting ready to do.
I don't think so. I'm gonna move towards that entity, Spirit of the Hunt, or whatever he calls himself.
Gwyn Felinarine. You can just call him Gwyn for short.
I'm trying. Gwyn Felinarine.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey. I'm gonna hit it.
Okay. So let's build a dice pool for you.
Okay. So
Meanwhile-
in my distinctions,
Mhm.
I would say, I mean, in my experience, would I recognize this thing as like, oh yes, natural entity, part of the worldly order, or like, oh my god, what the
So
fuck is that?
it's, at first glance, I would say it seems to be of the natural order of things, but it looks more like it has been comprised of elements of the natural order of things. Like from what you have been told, and kind of the sense that you get from this thing is it comes from an entirely different world. It comes from the Fey realm, and it
Yeah,
is
there we go.
it is an embodiment of nature's fury.
Predatory instinct.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I'm gonna use my distinction, Fey touched.
Perfect. Great choice.
Relationships with Eddard, because I'm doing this to protect him. Value, I would say courage, because I will do whatever it takes to protect my friends. I think I'm doing this correct. It's one of each.
Yep. Except for
So D,
like signature assets. If you can come up with a reason to have more than one signature asset in your role, then you can do that. And then obviously if you have any what do we end up calling them? Specialties that exist under your role, then you could use a roll die and a specialty die.
Gotcha. For my roles, I would say, warrior. Just plan on
Yeah, that makes
hitting
great
it.
sense.
Signature asset, magic sword.
I would say so.
What does this do?
And while you're figuring that out, the intention is that others will be trying to attack Gwynfellow as well, right? It sounded like Sir
if
John
they would
was
like
also.
to. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
More or less, I'm just moving in. I imagine if Sir John is behind me, he and I are not far from one another. I go in for a flank. Oh dear. Okay, so what do I? One of them would be an effect die, and that is dependent on the size of the die.
Correct. Yeah, it is. The only thing that has any impact is the size of the die itself. But two other dice, other than that one, will be totaled together, and then just let me know if you roll any ones.
I did roll a 1.
Okay.
But my effect die is a D10, and my total is 13.
Okay. All right. So, Gwynfellow is a tough opponent. I brought up his little card here on the screen. He is a boss, so he has 3 D10 as his boss dice. He also has a D10 in his features or traits or whatever they're called for a monster. He has a D10 in Apex Predator, a D10 in Ancient Forest Spirit, a D8 in Third Eye, and then he has 2 SFX that he can call upon. One is called Battle Scarred, the other is called Survival Instinct. So I've rolled his dice pool. I got a total of 19 with a D10 effect die. So you got a 1, and your total was not sufficient to overcome his roll. So you are not able to really deal any kind of significant damage to him. However, I am going to activate your hitch so you can have a plot point. I'm going to increase the d6 complication that we already have to a d8. So Bodhi is in more serious trouble. There are more hunters that are seeing that Gwynfelinarin is not having any trouble with any of you, so they are focusing on other matters. Okay.
I think
Who
for
else?
me, Sir John sees Tord charge off toward Gwynfelinarin and maybe doesn't wait to see the impact there. Like he's confident that Tord can at least hold his own for a second. And he looks over and he sees Ari and these spirits starting to tear down this gate, and Sir Dane kind of rushing to aid them. And he sees these hunters that are like still going after the spirits. And so he's hoping that Tord can buy him a little time so that he can buy Ari and Dane a little time. And he's actually sheathing his sword and grabbing his halberd from the ground next to him and charging after the hunters. And basically what I want to do is just charge in and like sweep a few times with the halberd, buy like this round worth of time for Ari and the others, and then reassess from there.
Okay. So attacking the hunters is going to be very similar to attacking the gate itself. Same pool of die, or same pool of woe. Okay. So go ahead and build your dice pool for trying to hold off as many of these hunters as possible. And buy them some extra time.
So Master of the Knightly Arts for sure. That's a D8 for me. I think value is going to be courage. I'm facing this down alone, and I kind of know the scale of what we're up against a little more intimately maybe than these other players do, or the other characters do. Like I've assessed it and I know what's going on here. And
yeah,
this is a hard fight, so I think courage makes sense here. And then roll warrior, and I also have pole arms as a specialty under warrior, so I'm going to add that.
Yep.
And then mod sets, let's see here. I think I have a signature asset, which is my halberd. And I could add a D8 for that. And I think if I want to use the SFX for a signature asset, I need to use it in my dice pool, right? Like I need to use that asset in the dice pool.
Usually, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Then I will go ahead and add it. I'm using both of the D8s I have already, so I'll just roll one of them a third time and I'll let you know if it's a 1.
Okay.
And then let's see here. I think that's it for now. So here's a question. I'm going to use my Mighty Valor ability as well. It's a D6, and it's super strength. And so it says that I can spend, well, I'm going to add it to my roll here for now, but then I might spend a PowerPoint to activate an ability on it, or an SFX on it too.
Okay.
Cool. So I've got 5 dice. Let me roll these and see how we do.
Conversely, I have rolled the pool of woe that I have, and I have my total. Ready.
Okay, cool. So for me, I'm going to do, I have rolled a 1. It's one of my D8s. So I'm going to re-roll that and see what we're looking at here. It's a 5. And so I'm going to take 2 dice here. That'll be 21. And my effect die is D8.
Okay, 21 is a D8. All right, my effect die was also a D8. However, my total was only a 14. So you absolutely are able to keep a large portion of these hunters kind of at bay making broad swings with your halberd, kind of giving them something to think about before they just happen to hunt down some of these spirits that are kind of running amok.
Yeah.
You said you had a D8 as your effect
D8
die,
effect die, yeah.
which will eliminate one of the D8s from the pool of woe as well.
Cool. And I want to see if it makes sense to do this. This is like the kind of galaxy punch potential here. My halberd has an S effect for reach weapon. I can spend a power point to wrangle an enemy and hold them at a distance. My Mighty Valor ability has an SFX, which is spend a power point to perform a fantastic feat of strength. If I were to spend 2 power points, could I combine those and hold more than one enemy at a distance?
Yeah, I'm for it, especially for
Okay.
2 plot points.
And now the kind of follow-up question to that, I know that's possible, but is my role kind of accomplishing that already, or is that something that I would need to accomplish like in addition to my role?
So your role is going to hold a number of them at bay. If you juice it with the power points that you're talking about, or your plot points, talking about possibly spending, then you would basically be holding back a larger percentage of the host.
Okay, cool. I think this time I'm going to do that. It feels to Sir John that it's important to buy as much time as we can here at the beginning. And so I'm going to spend my last 2 plot points and activate both of those. And I think what it looks like is that Sir John is maybe 2 or 3 paces in front of Ari at the Witch Gate. I don't know exactly where Sir Dane is, but I know where Ari is, so that's who I'm kind of looking at right now. And he's got his halberd, and he's just like swinging it in this circular pattern above his head and around his back and stuff, and like reaching it all the way out to either side of him and all the way in front of him, and like smacking hunters as they get too close with the axe head, or like beating them with the pommel or something. And so he's like actively engaged with them, but a lot of it is just sweeping motions to keep them away for a little bit. And he's also like stepping pretty big steps from side to side. So he's covering like 15, 16 feet a line there that he's holding these hunters back.
Yeah, you managed to find like a natural choke point kind of in the lay of the land or something, where a lot of them were kind of funneling through. And normally, at least with the shield wall, this would take probably 4 or 5, individuals to kind of hold. But you're managing to basically keep it shut down just by yourself because of your expertise with this extremely long weapon.
Yeah, and I think like this is very visibly taxing for him. It's clear that he's like burning a lot of oil here at the beginning of this. And I think while he's doing it, he kind of shouts and he's like, Ari, Sir Dane, I can buy you this moment, and then keeps fighting.
All right. And you did have a 1.
I did, yeah.
Okay. How to activate that? Okay. I am going to activate a complication, a different one. I'll call this one that they are starting to surround you, Sir John. So this is going to be a complication where whenever these hunters go to attack, they will get this bonus die against you because of how many of them there are surrounding you.
Cool. Bring them on.
Okay. Tort has attacked. Ari has attacked. Dane, what do you want to do?
So my intention was to go towards this gate, but I see Sir John sort of just fly past me, taking up this like whirling dervish of, I don't want to go through that because he's likely to hit me too. Maybe intentionally. But I see these beings sort of slinking through the woods and moving towards where I saw Ari put Bodhi down. So that becomes my attention. And I start to run that direction, stepping in these splashing footprints that Ari left as she ran away from Bodhi, like she does. And I would like to run over there, and I'm going to scoop Bodhi up. And the moment that I grab him, I just sort of I mean, I'm a little bit bigger than he is, right? So I wrap him and I collapse to my knees, and we see the water drain from that pool and rush along those footprints, and that water is going to encase both Bodhi and I. So I am activating my power. I have the protection of the Washing Woman, and it grants me invulnerability.
All right.
So I'm going to spend a power point to activate that. I'm going to encase both Bodhi and myself in this puddle of water that just wraps us, and there's bits of, detritus and sticks floating in it, and lily pads from nowhere. The things you might see in the lakes near Dane's home. In an attempt to remove the complication of these things that are after him, basically hoping that the protection granted there staves them off, and that maybe even the blessing of the Washing Woman of Camagel will hide them for the moment.
Okay, perfect. So it sounds like the ability typically functions for Dane. So to include Bodhi, what I would like to do is to build a dice pool to see how effective it's going to be at kind of extending this. And then however that comes out, we can apply that to the complication of Bodhi being in danger.
Perfect.
Awesome.
So distinction, I'm going to use a young man with an ancient soul, since I will be pulling on ancient magic.
Yep.
For values, it's going to be courage. Because Dane's tagline for courage is standing with your friends, even if it means standing in front of them. Yeah. I'm going to use my role as a witch and my specialist of magic of the old water.
Yep. Okay. That tracks.
And I am going to use my signature asset of Camagel, since it's currently inside of me, quite literally, to step up my witch die.
Okay. Awesome.
So
I have built an opposing dice pool out of the 2 d8s from the Pool of Woe, as well as the d8 complication of Bodhi being in danger itself.
Yep, that makes perfectly good sense to me.
Okay, cool. I have that rolled up and ready to go.
Okay, I did not roll any ones, thank goodness. Oh. So 2 dice for effect. We're going to go this way and that way. All right, so my die total is going to be a 19.
Okay.
And my effect die is a d12.
All right. So I had a total of 11 with no effect die at all because I rolled a 1 on my third die. So once again, that is an opportunity. If anybody wants to activate that, they may do so at the cost of a plot point. You have an effect die of a d12. That is absolutely more than the d8 complication that was on Bodhi. So I'm going to remove that entirely from the board. Yeah, so you managed to kind of wrap him in this protective magic that you have called forth, strengthened by the presence of Camagel within you. And you are able to extend your normal protective powers to include the young boy as well. Okay. So now we have the Pools of Woe, the actual hunters themselves. They are largely held back at bay because of Sir John's actions. So the way that they normally function is every round they roll the boss dice that Gwynfellinarine still has against the Pool of Woe, determine how many they harvest. Gwynfellinarine still has 3d10. But because of the actions of Sir John and the success of his rolls, I'm going to step 2 of those down to d8s instead of d10s. Step down twice. Okay. So I'm going to roll that to figure out how he's doing. Okay, so he got a total of 14 with a d8 effect die. Now I'm going to roll the pools of woe. And I got a 14. Okay. So there's a few of these spirits that are taken down, that are collected, but the majority of them are saved, allowed to gain some distance away from these hunters, because Sir John is able to hold so many of this host kind of at bay, where he has them. Okay. Now it's time for Gwyn Felinarin.
Hey Jeremy, real quick.
Yes.
I apologize.
No,
With
no.
the Young Man, the Ancient Soul, it has an attached special effect to it. So when I use it in conjunction with ancient magic, I get to keep an extra effect die and grant it to someone else in the scene as an asset.
Oh, nice.
So
okay.
I have an extra D10 effect die I would like to grant to Sir John.
Okay.
In the idea that this water is seeping now towards the feet of these individuals that are surrounding him.
Perfect. Okay. I'm going to throw that in the asset box there, Sir John. Just remember that you've got that. I'll say, okay, so Gwyn Felinarin is the only one who closed with Gwyn Felinarin is Sir Tord. So he is going to turn his full attentions towards Tord. Actually, he isn't actually turning his attentions towards Tord. He has a very intent focus, a goal that he has here. He is going to attempt to bowl you over, Tord, so that he can get to Eddard. So the result of this roll is actually going to be how successfully you may be able to defend Eddard against Gwyn Felinarin. That makes sense. We're going to bring the boy back up. All right, so if that is indeed your intention, if that's what you want to try to do, please describe what that's going to look like and then build your dice pool.
He attempts to pull away from me, but I don't know, I use my knightly training to keep him in front of me and allowing him to strafe around me. Knight of the Land for a D8, D8 for my courage, lifting my shield. I'm gonna do Path of the Warrior again.
Okay. I've built up
Relationship
his dice
with
pool
Eddard.
and got it rolled. Yep, that makes perfect sense.
Okay, alright, not so bad, not so bad. Effect will be a D10, and my 2 added together are 8 and 5, 13.
Okay, so 13 with a D10. I also got 13 with a D10 effect die. That's interesting. But I did roll a 1 with mine. So if somebody would like to spend a plot point, then they could create an asset, or they could possibly spend a plot point to step down my effect die. So it goes from a D10 to a D8. No?
I would like to spend a plot point. And I'm
Okay.
thinking maybe we'll step down his effect die, the creatures, and we'll explain it with the thought that with Ari's rowing words right before she headed off towards the gate, and she called for her sisters, and maybe some of them have actually kind of heeded the call. They've got out of this fuzzy ghost headspace that they're in, and some of them have swirled around Gwenfelenorine just as he was trying to attack.
Oh, okay.
And
Perfect.
maybe distracted him slightly.
All right. Yeah, I love that. Okay. So toward this this creature tries to just move past you, just bowl you over to get to Eddard. And you have tried to interpose yourself again, tried to get in between him and his prey. And like he slams his rack of antlers into your shield, and tries his best to like wrench his head to the side, basically to just either disarm you of your shield or to just throw you aside. And it takes everything in your power, all of your strength, to keep your feet on the ground and to keep your position, because this creature is insanely strong. But you manage to keep yourself rooted in place and prevent this creature from attacking Eddard. And this creature is incensed by your presence. Okay. He also the end of every round, he summons, well, not summons, but more hunters pull forth from the gate. So the pool of woe is going to get an additional d6 at the end of every round. Okay. So that was kind of the first part of this bout. The gate is partially destroyed. Hunters still continue to spill forth from it. Bodhi seems to be protected at the moment, though it is taking quite a bit of Dane's magic to be able to protect him. Tord is protecting Eddard from Gwenfelenorine, and Sir John is holding back a large contingent of these hunters. Now we're back to all of you. What would you like to do?
I'm going to do the same thing I did last time, and that is to destroy this gate.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So basically my dice pool is going to be the same, except this time instead of stepping up my effect die, I'm going to use a PowerPoint to step up one of my combat trait dice. So I'm going to make it from a D8 to a D10. So.
All right. I've got my dice pool rolled up.
Not as good, but I have 0 ones this time.
That's good.
We are going to go with a total of 17 effect die of D10. Sorry, not 13. 7 and a 6 equals 13. 13.
All right. So
D10.
I rolled the dice in the pools of woe, and I got 2s on all of them.
Oh, well, isn't that lovely?
You handily defeat that. At a D10.
Yep.
Effect die. So that is going to once again outright. So you can choose. You can destroy either the D6 or one of the D8s.
Oh, a D8.
D8. I figured as much, but I wanted to leave you the option just in case there was some kind of strategy that I wasn't aware of. Okay. So yeah, you dismantle further parts of this gate. Part of the top of it, collapses and kind of has that hollow sound that dried wood has whenever it collapses and like knocks about with other dried wood. But the mist still seems to be pouring through, as are the hunters, for the time being at least. Okay, who's next?
I can go. So I think at this point, Sir John has held off these hunters about as long as he can exert an effort about it. And so he's going to break away and charge at Gwenfelinarine and see if he can give Sir Tord a bit of help. So he's going to do like one last big sweep in front of him, and it's going to maybe, knock one hunter down, but then push a few of them, like push the tide of them back maybe like a step or two. And as he's doing this, he's like, Ari, I can't defend any longer. And he's going to abandon that effort and charge after Tord and his fight. I'm attacking Gwenfelinarine, I imagine, is this action. And so for building my dice pool, my distinction, I'm going to do the point of Camagel, but I'm actually going to flip that and swap it out for a D4. The context of the point of Camagel is that in matters of violence and war, I'm the strong and decisive leader of the party. So I'm over here like making decisions about what needs to happen. I'm not consulting anybody, I'm just doing it. But the hindrance there is a hawkish eagle, and I maybe crave battle a little too much. And so I think like, I think to myself, I've done what I can here. She can take care of the rest. I got to go to this other battle now too. I feel like divided in a very leaderly kind of way. I gain a PowerPoint when I do that. And then values, I think, I kind of think compassion is what I want to choose here, which is also a D4.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I think that I'm really trying to like do my best to help people here, but I think that this is kind of a foolish decision for Sir John to be making, right? He's stretching himself too thin. And so I've got these 2D4 right now. My roll is still going to be warrior. That's a D10. Pole arms, I have D8 still because I'm going to continue to use that. And then I'm not going to cite any relationships right now. I think that I'm too torn between all the relationships to really care about any one of them at this moment.
Fair enough.
And then I'm doing, for my signature asset, I have one called the Lightenor School of Knightly Arts. And it's my personal style or whatever. And I'm choosing it now specifically because of an SFX that's connected to it called Relentless Onslaught. And so like one of the features of this art is that when I need to, in the moments where I really need to like take out a loan from my energy reserves, I can really put it out there where technique and conditioning combines to create just like a maelstrom of war and destruction. And so I spend a PowerPoint to increase my signature asset die by one step. So it's no longer a D10, it's a D12.
And you also have the D10 asset from Sir Dane.
Oh shit, you're right. That's the protective water. So I actually think in terms of what that looks like, the water, when I sweep my halberd in front of the hunters, the water was over there to help protect me. And I think the water is like drawn by the motion of the halberd and comes up in this like brittle and easily broken, but an ice wall that's going to make them think twice for a split second, right? Buy them that extra instant of time.
Love it.
So yeah, I've got a big old fat pool here. Let's see what I can do. All right, so no ones. What great news.
That's impressive.
Yeah, no, I know.
That many dice.
One of my effect dice is going to be a D10, that's for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, the D4 were a 3 and a 4. I got lucky there. I was nervous. And then my result, so I have an 18 plus D10 effect die.
Okay. I rolled Gwynfellow Marine's pool, and I got a 15 total. So you're definitely going to bypass him. He also had a D10 effect die, but he also has the S-effects of Battle Scarred, where when defending against more than one opponent, he can add a D6 to his dice pool and keep an additional effect die for each opponent attacking him.
Woof.
So he is going to keep both his D10 and his D6 effect die. However, you beat him numerically. So he is going to use that second effect die to... what does he want to do with it? Oh, I know what he's going to do. He howls, and the D6 that is in the pool of woe is going to become a second D8. There are 2 D8 in the pool of woe now. Okay, so you struck him. What was your effect die again? D10?
D10, yeah.
Okay, so that will outright get rid of one of his boss dice. So he now goes from 3d10 down to 2d10.
Cool.
So yeah, you can describe what it looks like as you deal him a pretty significant blow, but that he is still in the battle.
I think so. Just earlier, Tord and Gwynfellow had kind of squared off, and Gwynfellow antlers got locked in the shield, right? Or like butted up against the shield. And I kind of imagine this moment where so Tord pushed Gwynfellow back, and he the creature stumbles backward and then is like, are you fucking kidding me? You know, like screams really loud, just bellows or whatever. I think that's what was described, right?
Yeah.
Been a while. And so I think that happens, but Sir John kind of runs through these trees and kind of up the side of a small boulder or whatever, and then leaps, and he's like up in the air 300 style with his halberd over his head, and he
there's a scream of an
downward.
Eagle somewhere in the distance.
Yeah, for sure. And he brings his halberd down, and is it possible to just sever one of those antlers off of Gwynfellow's head?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, right at the skull. It almost would have hit the skull, but I don't know, the survival instinct of the creature kicked in, and it pulled just those millimeters away to where it clove the antler instead of the skull itself.
Yeah, this antler, this massive antler, it's probably 10, 15 feet in length overall, collapses onto the forest floor with a thud, and this thing rears back and shakes its head. And it looks down at the antler, and it looks up at you with these yellow eyes, and you're fairly certain that you see all 3 of these kind of glowing yellow orbs kind of pulse with an intensifying light.
Pindrake blood will no longer satiate me today. I will also drain you into a husk.
You will continue to thirst, beast.
All right. That is Ari and Sir John for the turn. Who's next?
I'll go if you don't want to.
Okay.
If Sir John has severed this horn or antler and the creature squares off, I think it goes to lunge, and I'm gonna attempt to grab the other one and jerk its head back down towards me, so that perhaps its body continues with some momentum, but like a leashed animal.
Okay, absolutely. So you kind of lash out with your hand and try to grab a hold of his other antler. Let's see. He is at 2d10. And 10 for Apex Predator. And then he's got a d6 because of more than one opponent. Okay. So I built his dice pool. Go ahead and
I'm
figure out what you want to do with yours.
finishing mine. Do you want to hear it, or am I just good to roll it?
Yeah, go ahead. You just roll it. Describe it if you want to, but no need to have to.
Here's my D8. Okay. Okay. No ones. But looking at a total of, fuck if I can math. 8 plus 6, 14. Effect die, D10.
Okay. So he got a total of 7. Unfortunately, I'm not very good, so that definitely is going to beat him. He
I'm also going
has...
to burn a plot
Oh, go ahead.
point
Mhm.
to perform a feat of fantastic strength.
Okay.
I don't. That's all. It's a
That's all
D10,
it
so I would
says?
just add that to the roll.
Yep.
All right. Probably should have said that before.
Okay.
But okay, that is better.
Just
So we'll
later.
turn. Well, in fact, I would say the same. It's a 14 now instead of 13
Okay. Okay.
or 16 rather.
16 instead of his 7. That is definitely going to trounce him. The D10 effect die. You will also be able to take down if he's D10s. He's now down to a single boss die. He did still get to keep an extra effect die because he's defending against more than one person. So again, he is howling and screaming at this turn of events. One of these D8s is going to become a D10 as many hunters are starting to pour out of this gate, but also to take notice that he is struggling, perhaps coming to his aid. Okay, oh, he has another special effect. When he only has one boss die remaining, I step up his Apex Predator die to a D12. So he is now infuriated and fighting for his life. So his attacks are going to be all the more ferocious. Okay, that was Sir Tord. That just leaves Sir Dane for this round.
Well, am I tied up keeping Bodhi safe, like with this magic? Like, is that like a constant thing for me?
I don't think it has to be a constant thing. No.
Okay. So Tord and Sir John are over there fighting the monster. He's missing a horn. That looks good, but he looks really angry, and Auri's over there punching sticks. But the sticks look like they need more punching, right? Like this thing's definitely still in one piece. Well,
yeah.
At least.
I mean, there are definitely still people pouring through it at this point.
Yeah. All right. I will leave Bodhi in his ball of water and move towards this witch gate. And I mean, this is the time where in Dane's mind, maybe he shouldn't have skipped all those times cutting wood and actually done his chores. Instead of reading. But yeah, this thing's got to go, or we're going to be in a lot of trouble. And I suppose, more importantly, more of the souls of Ari's sisters will be taken. So I'm gonna charge towards this thing with the intent to do damage to it while realizing I don't have a sword. Because reasons. So I'm gonna do something that's gonna have some severe repercussions. As
That's my
I
favorite kind
close
of action.
with what's that?
So that's my favorite kind of action.
Yeah. So as I close with this, and I see Ari lashing at it with her weapons and her fists, and I imagine at this point, like you're scraped and bloody from punching into this thicketed, wooded mess. I am going to run through that shallow pool of water, and as I do, I reach down into this pool of water, and there's this cloud of blood that hits the water, and just like the ink in there spreading. And as I pull my hand out, I'm pulling the sword Camagel out of me, so it's not sliding out of the water, but sliding out of Dane's arm back into his hand, knowing this breaks a whole lot of agreements between the elves and some ancient individuals. And so the blood dripping, the rust flaking off of him is insane. There's just a cloud of almost rust-colored butterflies and flies, buzzing around him. And I'm going to close with that thicket and lay everything that my tiny night body can into it.
All right.
So
Build that dice pool.
I'm going to. All right. Hand of Camagel.
And while Steve is doing that, I think we see, like, as that sword appears in Dane's hand, there's like this rumble that kind of shakes like a minor earthquake the area all around, and we watch a small fissure open between that pool of water that he summoned all the way back to the Hall of History, straight through a part of the foundation to where there's like a stone tablet written in Elven that kind of details the truce, the agreement between Mathuran Gabrain and the elves, and that fissure goes straight up to that tablet, and it just snaps in half. This hairline fracture straight across the tablet.
Oopsie daisy.
Okay. No ones, which is nice. It's going to be a dice total of 18 with an effect die of 12.
Okay, yeah, I only got a 14. And your effect die is high enough to choose either the D8 or the D10 that you can eliminate from the pool of woe.
We will take the D10 out.
Figured as much. Okay. So that leaves a single D8 in the pool of woe moving forward. Okay. So Dane, yeah, you largely dismantle this thing between Ari's persistent efforts and the aided ferocity of your ability and magic channeled through Camagel. You can describe what this thing looks like as it is on its last sticks.
So, so as the blade is flying, like there's this complete disregard for every lesson that Sir John ever taught him, right? Like this is hacking, this is desperation for the first few swings. And in this resounding crunch as Camagel bites one more time into this witch ring and stays sort of slightly embedded into it, that swing was measured. That swing was something an expert knight does. And as you look at the water that's there, it's got the crimson coloration from Dane's blood in it. The reflection doesn't show Dane standing there. It shows Mathuran Gabrain standing where Dane is standing, wielding this sword. And you can see the reflection mouth the words, "I'm sorry, my friend," as he knows he's just broken this agreement.
Fantastic. Okay. So, we have all of the PCs who have gone. So now the hunters, they are at a D8. Oh, wait, no. That is the pool of woe is going to be rolled against what Gwynfeline still has remaining. He is currently at a single D10. Interesting. Okay, they got a tie. So I think... Okay. The hunters' numbers have been thinned considerably. There's nowhere near as many of them that are able to come out of the gate as of now. The ones that have managed to come through have either been cut down, dealt with, or have disappeared off into the forest. Many of the spirits of the Sisterhood of the Shield have stopped running, stopped fleeing in confusion, and have turned and have started fighting back, and have done quite a bit of number on these hunters themselves. Though there are still plenty of their collection of souls that have been lost in the process. Okay, that takes care of the hunters. Now for Gwynfeline. He is facing both Sir Tord and Sir John. He has Apex Predator, which has become a D12. And he has his D10 boss die remaining. I think that's all that he... Oh, no, he is facing one... No, that's only when defending. So, okay. He is going to attack... He is still going to go for Eddard. This is what he came here for. This is what he seems to be intent on achieving. So is there anybody else that would like to try to, between Sir Tord or Sir John, to try to intervene?
I mean, yeah. Can we tag team it?
So it'll have to be one of you who will make the
spend a
actual
plot
roll.
point for that.
Oh, do I have to spend a plot point for it?
No.
No,
Because Josh isn't here, I'm just having y'all basically make his defensive rolls in his stead.
Got it.
So
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to step in, give Tord
rolled
a
the
breather,
last one.
but
Yeah.
okay, so yeah, let's build a dice pool that kind of explains how Sir John is preventing Gwynfeline from getting to Lord Eddard.
Sure. So, Master of the Knightly Arts, D8. I think we're back into Courage territory, D12. Warrior, D10. Pole Arms, D8. And I think that might be all I am capable of. I've
Okay.
wiped out a lot of my potential.
Yeah, it's been a big fight.
I've been leaving it all out there. Okay, so but you know what? I have a relationship die for Eddard. Let's add that to the mix.
Makes sense.
Cool. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna do. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Yeah, okay. So hard to decide.
Choices.
Okay. So my total is a 17, and
Ooh,
my
okay.
effect die is a D10,
Okay.
and I didn't roll any
So-
ones.
I got a total of 9 with an effect die of a D10. So that is not going to be enough to bypass the defense that you are managing to put together on behalf of Eddard. He scrapes and claws at the ground, removing just massive like clods of soil and roots every time he makes impact with the ground, trying desperately to get to Eddard, to just scoop him up and take him with him like a to-go order.
I think that like as I'm
yeah,
kind of grappling with him or whatever, I think it's with my halberd, of course. But I think I kind of repeat, I'm like, I said you will never slake your thirst while I breathe, and kind of like, keep engaged.
You will be mine. You will be mine.
You can sense the desperation in the Great Hunter's voice. All right. That brings us back to the PCs. Who would like to go
Well,
first?
I'll go first. I know what I'm doing. I'm continuing to attack this portal and the people that are coming through. My dice pool is pretty much the same. I'm not stepping up a die or doing anything fancy with that. I kind of out of pop points. But what I'm doing, oh, it's a good roll. Okay, I do have a 1.
Okay.
So my total is 16. Effect die of a D10. I have a 1, and I'm also invoking the limit of my body as a weapon ability. I am saying this is my last time. I'm shutting it down and gaining a PowerPoint.
Okay. Awesome. All right. You definitely beat a 4.
Ooh, nice.
What was your effect die again?
A D10.
D10. Okay, so you will eliminate the last die in the pool of woe. Okay. So we can get rid of that. Yeah, you can describe what it looks like as Ari finishes taking the rest of this witch gate down.
It's like she's kind of going to the other side now. We've got one side is pretty much destroyed. She's finishing off the other side. She cuts her way through the hunters that are still coming through this gate, and she lastly, with like one last kick at the specific spot on the other side, kicks the gate, and we see that this the fissures that have been going all around has finally, that was the last holding part, and the entire structure starts to crack and tumble. We see through it that whole the landscape through it starts to shimmer and ripple like a pool of water as the magic is being kind of disturbed, and with a final kind of groan, the entire thing collapses, and it collapses upon any of the ones that are still trying to come through. They don't make it. And
Absolutely.
the dust clouds as everything, wood chips and dust clouds while they are. So we kind of lose sight of Ari for a second in that moment.
There's this like chorus of like screams and yells of frustration and pain as several of the hunters are caught beneath the collapsing structure of this witch gate, and those are kind of like elongated and echoed in Gwynfelinarin, who is now howling and yelling in frustration of being undermined to this extent that now this gate that was supposed to bring the wild hunt has now failed. All right, Gwynfelinarin is still alive and kicking. He's got a D10 left on his boss dice. Who wants to go next? Not all at once, though. Calm yourselves.
Because I've just defended against Gwynfellinary, I feel like somebody else can go before me.
Dane, send her home. You are muted.
All right, so hearing this gate collapse and then seeing these people crushed underneath it and hearing them cry is a bit reminiscent of being trapped under a church. But
True.
I can still hear the sounds of combat across the way. And so, yeah, I mean, one job down, right? The next is this beast, because he's going to take Eddard. And he is on his last legs. So Dane charges across, and sword in hand, still dripping blood from this wound in his arm, his hand where the sword comes from. And I will attempt to strike down this monstrosity.
All right.
See how that goes.
Build this
so
dice
he's-
pool up and see how
Yep,
that goes.
hand Camagel. Courage. Warrior.
Okay. I've got his rolled. Diminished quite a bit, but he has his D12 Apex die, Apex Predator die, his D10 boss die, and then the extra D6 that he gets when defending against
Alright.
multiple people for battle scarred.
So I'm using Hand of Camagel,
Okay.
Courage, Warrior. Warrior stepped up because I'm wielding Camagel. And then my relationship die with Eddard in this case.
Okay.
It's only gonna be a 13 with a effect I have 10.
Okay, I got an 11 total with a D10 effect die, and he has only but a D10 boss die remaining. So if your effect die is a D10 as well, that gets rid of his last boss die. What does it look like as you defeat Gwynfellinary on this plane?
So the only D10 I got to roll was actually my warrior dice. Once again, stepped up from a D8 to a D10 because of wielding Camagel. So the flailing that was happening over against the Witchgate is gone, right? This is, in fact, I imagine even the crossing of the battlefield was less Dane's frantic hurry to help and more those measured steps of a long practiced knight. And so the fighting style is this strange mishmash of things that Sir John taught him, and then these moves that, I mean, Sir John recognizes them from books, right? These aren't, maybe not even, some of them aren't even used anymore. Like newer things have been discovered, better ripostes, better strikes. And there's Tord has that antler and has been yanking it around. And so in one of those movements where it comes down, that the blade just, it strikes true, opening the throat of this beast. We watch this blood that he's been questing for, searching for, pour out of him. And there's this mixture of almost 3 sets of eyes watching as this being fades. You know, there is Dane, the young man who's read about things like this in storybooks, but at the same time, there's an image of Mathuran in there, and then these sparkling, reflective blue twinkles there that are just the water that Camagel is from. And it's those eyes that look down and see this blade covered in blood, and again realize exactly what this means. And so it's those sparkling blue eyes that begin to cry, not at the death of this thing, but at the cost of which it came.
And I think we see the spirits of the Sisterhood of the Shield, who have fought beside you, who no longer have to run and worry about being hunted. I think they silently kind of all turn towards the group of you, Ariana in particular. And Ari, what is a salute, a form of like greeting, a visual, kind of confirmation that they're showing respect and thanks to you, that they give kind of in unison?
One hand is raised, like palm up, and then next a closed fist kind of pumps into it, and they give a bow.
And as they bow, all of them fade from existence. And we watch as Gwyn Felinarin's body kind of very quickly becomes compost, dead leaves, branches, detritus, dead animals, that kind of is in the same size and shape that his form just occupied before it collapses under its own weight into just a pile of refuse where he was laying moments before. This is where we're going to go ahead and take our break. So we're going to take a 10-minute bio, go to the bathroom, refill your drinks, smoke them if you got them, kiss your spouse, etc., etc. Sit tight. We will be right back with the second half of session 47 of Beneath the Banner's Shadow, Splinters of Wood and Bone. Hello, everyone. Welcome back from the break. We are here with the second portion of our session tonight of Beneath the Banner Shadow. This is session 47, titled Splinters of Wood and Bone. So, we come back still in the heart of Elvendom, just outside of the Greywood Grove. Here, kind of on the steps of the Hall of History, and the embodiment of the Wild Hunt, an entity known as Gwynfelinarin, has just been slain here on the mortal realm, at least. His body has just turned into loose detritus and refuse that has collapsed in on itself, no longer holding the shape of his body. Bodhi, still wrapped in the diminishing strands of rivulets of water of Dane's protective magics, still unconscious, and this tiny fissure kind of running from where this collapsed witch gate was moments before, all the way into the House of History, the Hall of History, where it has cracked a stone tablet. We watched the water that was sparkling and smelled of implements of washing as the last of that drains into the small crack that has formed. Nearby, as the heroes start to collect themselves after this intense exchange, we see the hand, a shadow of a hand that had been holding one of these trees, release as the shadow then melts away, realizing that someone has been watching this entire combat. So as this combat is done and we rejoin the group of you here, what's happening? What are you doing?
So we see Ari from the ruined witch gate. Once the dust and the wood kind of settles, we see her. She's covered in dirt, blood, wood chips, you name it. She's looking extremely battle worn at the moment. And with all energy at this point kind of left her body, she is limping towards the stable where she had left Bodhi.
You find him there, laying not far from where it was that you first set him down, and you can kind of see that the protective magics of Dane are kind of, falling, running off of him like water. And the hay beneath him is now kind of, been dampened, but he's still lying there unconscious.
Once she is able to, she's going to grab his body, pick it up, and gently going to place it on the horse she rode in on, and and make it so that he'll be comfortable and secure when they head back. So she's doing that, and unless anybody stops her, she's going to get on the horse herself.
I mean, I'm down to join her.
Who all seen the shadow from the doorway?
So I was just describing that just for the audience's sake, but if you think that it's something that Tord would have possibly noticed, then I am absolutely for hearing that.
I don't think if it was. I don't think so. I would go to Eddard, assist him. He seemed to come out fairly unscathed, so packing up our materials, I would probably bring up the rear.
Yeah, man. I imagine Eddard's maybe his like the bottoms of his cloak are kind of like shredded a little from where this thing's claws were trying to reach around those of you who were standing in his way, trying to grab a hold of him, but ultimately having failed to do so. Okay. Oh, go ahead.
Dane has put the sword back in the scabbard, which is on his hip. Hasn't been that way in a while, and is bandaging this wound that is still not stopped, just putting forth blood. It's not a gushing wound, but it is enough that it's not healing right. He's torn part of his shirt and wrapped it around it, and is, despite the victory, despite Bodhi being safe, is very much head down and walking towards the horses where he can hear everybody else and getting on a horse to leave.
Okay. Without much further ceremony or ado, the party mounts back up on horseback and begins to head back towards the village. But it's on the road that only after maybe half an hour or so, kind of still heading out of the valley that the Greywood Grove is kind of situated in, that you realize that someone is approaching on the road ahead of you at a brisk pace, on foot, not on horseback like yourselves, but they don't seem to be bothering to keep hidden. It's very, very obvious to you that someone is approaching quickly.
I think
just
Sir
keep
John
riding.
kind of rides up front and is like, who goes there?
You hear a few elves, a few voices kind of call out in Elven, speaking amongst themselves, and you see a few individuals striding towards you, and strangely, out front of this small little like four group collection, the person that you see in the front looks exactly like Ari. And she is walking determinedly, like right down the middle of the road towards you.
I think I don't address her, but I look behind me and I'm like, Ari? And I kind of cant to the side because I'm not going to get in the way of this.
I think it's a moment, this whole time, like since we've left, Ari's been head down. She's been looking at Bodhi, and she's been very quiet and in her thoughts. So it's probably takes a moment before she even realizes that we kind of stopped and that there's somebody in front and that Sir John has like talked to somebody. And it takes a moment, and then she'll look up, and if it's maybe at that point when Sir John, you've looked back and Ari sees the person you've been talking to at this, like for the first time, and her face, there's a look of shock and maybe almost dismay that you see on Ari's face as she's just like gobsmacked at who stands in front of us.
this elf continues to approach. And Ari, now that you have gotten a good look at her, you can see that her left hand is missing. That it looks like her forearm must have been severed. And there is like a bloody like wrapping that is hastily bandaged over the arm, the stump of this arm that she has. And you can see cuts and bruises on her face as she mirrors your look of shock and surprise. And when she catches sight of you, she kind of stops for a second. And then she kind of hesitates, looking at the rest of the group that's with you. And then she comes forward at like a jog. Ari?
And it seems very almost formal as Ari gets down off of her horse, kind of smooths out the worst of some of the muck that's on her before she strides forward.
Ariana?
Talil Shial, and she kind of does that whole salute bow.
What are you doing here?
There was trouble. The Grove. We were here for that.
You came from the Greywood Grove.
Aye, we did.
Then you saw what happened.
I did not see what happened, saw the results. And it is not pretty.
Is there anyone still alive?
No.
You can see that this hits her like a punch to the stomach. But she wrangles her Kirodel control, her determination as being a sister of the Sisterhood of the Shield. She lowers her head and kind of shakes it back and forth. I don't understand. Just all of a sudden, everywhere around us, there was magic, evil magic, dark, hungry magic. And then, you'll never believe me, I saw Gwyn fell on the ring.
Ari kind of gives that kind of smirk laugh.
It's not funny.
We just fought him. Of course I believe you.
You fought Gwyn fell on the ring.
Aye.
And you slayed him.
And we bested him.
She kind of stammers. I'm impressed. What?
Did not do it to impress you.
She kind of
Does
takes a
not
different
change.
stance.
Does not change what happened there. They're still dead. Some without souls now.
And you're not meant to be here.
Show at least some gratitude. And she turns to go back to her horse.
The defense of the Greywood Grove is the job of the Shieldhouses. You are no
Well-
longer a member of the Sisterhood, Ariana.
Without turning back, she says, "We did what you could not." And then she mounts up onto her horse and starts to go forward.
The other elves that are with Talia kind of have stood aside back behind her, not saying anything, eyeing the rest of you with a little bit of trepidation, mixed with caution, perhaps. But none of them have drawn weapons on you. Nothing to that extent. You ride past Talia, and she kind of calls after you, Ari. I'm not alone here. I came with help. I brought the venerated mother. You would know, Ari, that this is the person that you were sent here to find. The elves don't have a king or a queen, but if you had to try to apply the label of queen to someone, it would be the venerated mother.
I think at that Ari sits up straighter than she has been, and her horse stops. But she doesn't say anything.
Okay. Is there any other kind of reaction or anything at all being said as this exchange between Ari and this elf that looks exactly like Ari has just unfolded?
Not anything out loud because I don't want to get browbeat or physically beat by two different elves.
In stereo.
I'm afraid anything that I say would be considered a hate crime.
So John manages to not even scoff at the kind of like it's clear that these elves are a little wary around us, but so John feels like he just did them a real solid, and they don't seem to be all that grateful. And he manages to not scoff about that. But as the conversation continues, if it happens in common, he's definitely scowling. And even if it's happening in Elvish, I think he picks up on like the body language or the facial gestures, and he's like, "What? No, I don't think so." He's like, doesn't say anything, but he's critical of this band of ingrates.
All right.
So Dane does speak Elvish.
Mhm.
And so like kind of under his breath as best you can, trying to cover distance between some horses. Ari, isn't that who we need to talk to?
Yeah, so Ari has stopped. So I imagine Dane had to ride up.
Oh,
take
yeah,
off
yeah,
with
yeah,
her.
yeah.
Yeah. And Ari just sighs. Yes.
I can watch Bodhi if you want to go talk to her in secret. I mean, quiet, separate. Mm. You know,
Again, Ari just sighs before she turns the horse around. No, not going to turn the horse around before she gets back off her horse and goes back to see the elf. It's true we need an audience with the venerated mother, but I fear this is not the place for one.
You think back there with all the dead people?
No, that's what I'm saying. Not
But
here.
that's where they're going.
No.
That's where they're going.
And you're probably trying to catch, because Ari is striding towards Talia. Talia.
Uh,
Talia. I can't even say the name right now. She's made me so angry.
The other
Who writes
one.
this shit?
Talia Shial. So I think at that point, we're probably approaching them again, and Ari does that same bow. You can see it's there. It's with all the respect that she can muster at this moment. This is not the place to have this conversation. It is not safe here. But we do need an audience with the venerated mother if she would have it.
I am certain that she will want to speak to you. Come. She kind of like gestures back down the road. Who all is headed to meet with the venerated mother? Sounded like some people were gonna hang back. Ari's going at least, it sounds like.
Dane specifically waits for Ari to get some steps ahead and to see if she looks back at like in that like, hey, are you coming? Because if not, this is obvious secret elf time. Because elves love their secrets.
Yeah, I mean, unless I'm barred from attending, I'll be a fly on that wall.
I think Ari would go back to her horse and take Bodhi, because she's not leaving him here on this trail alone. And then would carry him with us as we go.
So we're all going?
Come, Dane.
All right.
Baron, did you have something you wanted to add?
I'm
No.
coming too.
Okay. Okay, so you're kind of led back up the road a bit. And as you start to approach, you can see that they are already kind of setting up a hastily drawn up tent, kind of not far off the side of the trail. And there's elves that are kind of bustling about, trying to kind of set up this impromptu camp, if you will. So you approach with Ariana out front, I would imagine. You're greeted, Ari, by several of the elves, but you recognize that it's a little colder than most of the Elkirn, the wood elves, typically are. And many of them seem like they aren't capable of making eye contact with you.
I don't think Ari can make eye contact with them too much either right now. And she can't give them the respect that they would need at this point because she's carrying Bodhi, but she does do her best to show that respect as she is walking past them.
The others of you, the elves don't seem to have any problem making eye contact with. And they're not being, hostile or aggressive towards you in any way. They're definitely kind of looking at you with a kind of a studied eye, maybe mild curiosity. But elves oftentimes are kind of hard to read, by a lot of human standards at least. They don't wear a lot of their emotion on their face, typically. So they watch you pass. And before long, you are brought into this tent that is being readied. And there is a chair that is kind of seated in a way that you might expect to have like an audience, to have like a sit down, but there's nobody in it. There are elves that are kind of bustling around the tent for probably another minute before any of them says anything to you. There are chairs for you, probably not chairs. We'll say that there's like cushions on the floor, like on top of this rug that has been laid down that takes up the majority of this tent. That definitely look like they've been arranged for you to sit on and make yourself comfortable. Eventually, one of the bustling elves that's in the tent stops doing what she's doing and turns around to sit in this chair. And you realize that the entire time that you've been in here, that the veteran mother has been working at getting this tent ready alongside everyone else. She is an older elf that is completely white-haired. She does not wear the clothing and the trappings of a queen. She is well dressed, but she does not have herself presented as you might expect royalty to present themselves. She sits in this chair, and for any who have not taken a cushion yet, she just kind of like very gently opens her palm in the direction of one of these cushions for each of you. Please be seated.
Ari bows before she places Bodhi down on the cushion that was meant for her, and then would probably kneel behind it, or beside it, whatever the room is.
She very quietly whispers to one of the other elves, and indicates Bodhi, but speaks to her for some time before the other elf makes a nod, and the venerated mother tells her thank you, and then she turns and heads towards the exit of the tent, where she speaks with two other elves. One of those elves heads out of the tent, and soon after, you're pretty sure that you hear footfalls at a run, kind of fade off into the distance. The other elf that she spoke to comes and immediately starts administering care and healing magic to Bodhi as best she can.
I think at one point, Ari's a bit shocked when they try to heal him, and I think she kind of grips the healer's hand and looks at her directly in the eyes and, "Do not wake him, please."
Certainly not. She kind of looks at you with kind of sympathetic, like, expression. You get no sense of malice or apathy at all.
And thank you. And then she let her go.
I am told that you wished to speak with me. I am also eager to learn what it is that you have experienced in the Greywood Grove. But as my guest, please, I insist that you bring up the subject of which you need to speak with me first. I insist.
So Ari, with all of the reverence that she can give this woman, would begin the tale. What we've come for and why may seem so outrageous and from the stories of children. But I assure you it is all true. But we need your help. Ultimately, we are here. We are tasked with. And she kind of looks to the others for kind of like this moral support that she needs at this moment. We are to forge a sword. And from you, we're hoping we could get the wood. And she looks toward Dane, who is like the most probably has these myths down so much better than she does and understands the reasons behind. She just kind of looks to him for, again, that support. It may sound arrogant, and I'm not trying to be that, and I don't know why we were chosen, but we were, and we have so many things to do, and we have seen such horrors but such joy as well. And I think at this point, like, she starts kind of blabbing, just saying things just to say the things, and she's not really coming to any point. She's probably extremely nervous to be talking to this woman.
She lets you go on for a while, and then she kind of reaches down and she takes one of your hands kind of in between hers. She says, "It sounds as though you have been through a lot lately. All of you.
There's
There
been
are
so much.
There are unfortunately those in this world who like to harm people, to frighten, to injure, to kill, to maim, to cause to suffer." Her eyes kind of like drift to Bodhi's body. The humans blame this on black magic. It is true that there is a dark side to magic, but it does not have to be so. Magic is a reflection on those who wield it, every bit as much as a sword or as fire. Even water can drown. She looks at you, Dane.
I like take it like a jolt back and arch my eyebrows at her, like, hmm.
You came to the defense of the Greywood Grove at the expense of possibly losing one that you love.
At this, it's almost like shame passes across Ari's face, and she looks down to the ground, knowing the truth about the Greywood Grove.
You were once a member of the Sisterhood. Yet, from my understanding, this responsibility was lifted from your shoulders. Yet you still bear the weight of it. You still chose to take up their charge when you found the grove defenseless. Why?
Here, I may not be worthy to be a sister, but I am still part of it. I could not stand by and do nothing.
These are the tenets of your order. This order that you claim to no longer belong to. You lay down your life for another member of the Shieldhouses to stand beside your sisters in arms. And you are willing to die, not to prevent theirs, but to prevent the desecration of the place they guarded. From what I hear, to prevent the reaping of their souls. You fight alongside those who come from south of Ginden's Wall, people who follow the crown of Vykaril. They too put their lives in the line of danger on behalf of one of our sacred places. This act alone speaks volumes as to your character, all of you. And while I am not the voice of my people, I can say on their behalf that we owe you a great deal of gratitude. We are in your debt. Long has it been since man and elf have worked side by side in a peaceful way, in a meaningful way. It was my husband, Kasir, who first agreed to make peace with Mathuran Gabrain. Later, however, when humans had forgotten their vows, he severed ties with them, and in doing so, sent his only son to administer an ambassadorship. Bain Shial has taken this charge seriously. And it seems, she kind of looks at Ari, that he has trusted, that he has chosen those whom he trusts very well. Bain Shial was always very wise, despite his years. So, with this great task that you have performed for us, what is it that you would ask of the elves of the Endless Forest?
Ari bows deep again to this lady. At this moment, for those of you who know her well, you can see that she is fighting emotions. She's trying to keep them from her face. So it takes her a moment before she can gather herself to speak. We humbly ask for, it seems, wood. Wood. That's
Wood.
what we'd like. Yes.
You could have come and taken such a prize at any time?
Cannot be taken. It has to be freely given.
I see. I see. She nods her head, as if she's almost like she's recalling something that she may have read or learned once upon a time. Very well. She talks with you a bit about exactly what transpired in the Greywood Grove. And after some time, not as long as you might think that it would take to get back to the Greywood Grove in return, whoever this runner was sent was very swift of foot. You hear some speaking in Elven before the tent then opens, and Talia Shiol re-enters with a swatch of like green silk that is draped over what looks like a long, like a wand or a rod, like sized shape. She brings it to the venerated mother, who kind of puts her hand up, gently, this kind of weathered, gnarled hand, and she shakes her head, and she then turns that open palm towards Ariana. Ariana, Talia turns to you, and she, mildly begrudging, she kneels down in front of you, and she holds this silk swaddled bundle towards you. And as she does so, the venerated mother explains, "This is a branch from Kirsial, the tree in the Greywood Groves. Kasir Shial was a husband and a friend to me for many centuries. He was also a friend to Mathuran Gabrain once upon a time. In your actions, I see the ghost of Mathuran Gabrain. And so it is with all reverence to that friendship that once was, and all humility for the help that you have given us, that we present you with this branch. And in addition, Ari, as you open this bundle, you see that there is a branch. It's not particularly unique or splendid. It is a branch of wood. But in addition to that, there is a pair of wooden gauntlets that have been carved. You can tell by looking at them that they are made from ironwood, a particularly hard wood that grows in the forest. And these have been shaped beautifully into an elven design. You're presented with these along with this this branch of wood, and she says, in addition, you will now carry with you the title of Gilkirramin, and you will wear these to show it. You, going forth, will represent the elves of the Endless Wood in the fights ahead. And your sister, she turns to Talia, is charged with reforming the Sisterhood of the Shield to protect all of Elvendom here north of Ginden's Wall. One, the shield, The other, she looks back to you, Ari. The sword. Together, you will usher in a new generation of elves who will work alongside of men. Do you accept this charge? Talia kind of looks to you, and then she nods. I will. And you?
Ari looks at the gauntlet sitting at the branch, and then back to the venerated mother. I would be honored. And she again does that deep bow. Before then, I guess, taking the package.
The venerated mother then bows her head to the both of you, as does the remaining elves that are in the tent with you. And she says, "Then it will be so." So, Karen, this title and these gauntlets, the way that we're going to handle this, I am typing while I vamp for time. Gilkarami translates to sword fists. This is going to be a signature asset that you can add to your sheet. Add a d6. And it comes with a special effects. And again, I'll send this to you in chat so you actually have it written. The special effect is, when you are the first to attack in combat, spend a plot point to step up your warrior die by 1 for this roll, and create a d6 on their back foot asset.
Ooh. Okay.
Okay. So after this bit of formality has taken place, the elves will bring forth some meager food and wine because the break that they're taking here is short, as there is certainly business that they have to attend to at the Greywood Grove. But during that brief amount of time that you are able to spend in the company of these elves, is there anything that you want to say or do? No? Okay.
Well, if the others don't, Ariana would like to, at some point, pull her sister aside and have a talk.
Yeah, it's not difficult to find her at all. She almost seems to have been maybe expecting it a little as you approach.
Right. So that didn't quite go the way I was expecting.
You mean you didn't end up dead?
I didn't end up dead. I didn't end up being yelled at. And I didn't have. Well, we got off on the wrong footings as well.
I was going to offer to yell at you, since that's what you were expecting.
That's okay. I get yelled at enough.
Ori, why didn't you just do what you were sent to do? It was simple. All you had to do was get the damn pin.
I was told to just protect it, and if it couldn't be protected, then to take it. And I was protecting it just fine, with no help.
By flirting with another human.
Flirting? What are you talking about?
All that time that you were spending hanging around in the taverns with that lord?
He was a babe. I was looking after him, making sure he didn't get into trouble. He just never understood me, ever. I don't want to argue with you. What's done is done. You have the pen, hopefully. Everything is fine. I hope you guys got my missive that there was another one. And you picked that one up too.
It's no concern of yours. I just can't believe that you chose over the sisterhood. Over me. Doesn't make any sense.
I didn't. This entire time, I have been working for the sisterhood. I've been doing what they wanted. It is not my fault that things are happening in this world that are even bigger than us.
But you even travel all the way down to Angor. What were you doing down there? Protecting
Trying
him?
to save the
Protecting
world.
the quill? Saving the... Ariana. The world doesn't need you to save it.
Apparently it does. But you know what doesn't need me anymore? And with that, she's kind of rummaging in her pouch, and she'll pull out the cloak pin of the sisterhood. You. And she'll hand it back.
Ori.
Give it to someone more worthy. I have a new purpose now.
You are so hard to get along with, Ori. Look, I don't know that I can ever forgive you for turning your back on the sisterhood the way that you did. Regardless of what you say.
I turned my back. You turned your back on me first.
What I'm trying to say is that despite whatever I might feel towards you because of the business with the sisterhood, you and I are still sisters. And I might hate you, but I also love you. Whatever this business is that you've gotten yourself involved with, affairs of the crown, and I don't understand it, and I never will. I don't want to. But I also don't want to see you hurt or dying. So if you're gonna run around with these tin cans, she kind of like gestures toward and Sir John, Sir Dane, their metal armor, you better make sure that they're gonna look out for you.
I don't want to fight with you anymore. You will make the sisterhood proud. You will build it back up like the venerated mother said. But I am no longer part of that plan. You hurt her. My purpose lies elsewhere. And like you said, we are still sisters. And I, for one, never hated you.
Just
Hope in time we can work together like the venerated mother wants us to. But right now, I am tired of seeing your face. And she'll turn around and walk away.
she kind of huffs in a body posture and behavior that's probably not entirely unfamiliar to us as an audience. I think we've seen it before, perhaps a few times, although somewhere else. As she is left to chew on your words, your admonition. Okay. I think, unless there's anything else that anybody wants to touch on, I think that's where we're going to go ahead and call it for today. Okay. All right. Well, that was exhilarating. Thank all of you very much. Whatever, Steve. So all of you, please take 4 XP for the baseline as the session, but each of you also take an additional point as bonus for the fantastic descriptions that all of you gave in this harrowing defense of the Greywood Grove. This was tremendous. I'm so glad that we were able to finally get back to some banners. It's been on my mind for a while, so I'm happy that we could pick the story back up. I'm going to pass things back over to my players so that they can give any parting remarks that they might like to, and then we're going to call it a day. So we'll start in reverse order with Steve.
Well, that was fun. I didn't notice when I signed up for this that the woe was capitalized.
Underlined in bold
Just
face.
capital. Well, it's just like its own letter now, just capital woe. No, dude, so much fun. You're very, very skilled at painting a great picture. And then so much better than a lot of people I know at sharing that brush and letting other people step in and add to it. So that's a lot of fun. I love people's descriptions. I'm so good to be back. I'm really glad that we got to do this, and I'm looking forward to the next session. And maybe breaking more ancient elven tablets with my actions. We'll see what happens.
No bigs. I'm sure everything is fine. There won't be any repercussions or fallout from that at all. But no, man. Again, it's such a treasure to have a group that is not afraid to kind of go into the dark corners of their character, to explore the harsh reality of what it might be like to have to walk away from the life that you knew because you're being called to a higher purpose, quote unquote. And what ramifications that might have, not only on you and your relationships with the other people around you, but how the fallout might even actually fall onto those other people in an indirect fashion as well. I think, for me at least, that's a very fascinating study of what it's like to be an adventurer in a world where things like this are possible. And obviously the only way that that's even remotely doable is by having a group of players who aren't afraid to pick the ball up and just run with it. And all of you are so good at that. It is deeply appreciated. So thank you. Speaking of deeply appreciated, next up is Eli.
Hey everybody, so one thing that you don't get to see about me whenever we're playing in the evening is that at approximately 2:05 every single day, I become invisible for 4 hours. So I'm still going to be invisible for the next hour at least, but It was really great being here. I promise I was here the whole time. And it was a bunch of fun. I was talking during the intermission with everybody about how, like, we as a group are really good at kind of free-form role-playing conversations and bringing our own drama and like stakes to the conversations that we have and kind of challenging the world with that energy and stuff. And it's really cool. And free-form is like the key, I feel, right? And the fight that we had, it felt to me like I was in a flow state, and it felt to me like everybody else was having a really good time too, of just like riffing on the statements on our character sheet about who our characters are and applying them to the specifics of that moment. And it was so much fun. So I want to add that to what Steve said about, like, Jeremy's ability to craft a world and share it with other people. I just feel like, I don't know, it felt really good this time, both the story and the gameplay. I was like here for every bit of it. So that was a lot of fun. It's also wild to think, like, you said earlier that our families are in danger. And I'm like, man, I mean, from the very first sessions when we were introduced to Eddard and his entire city was imperiled by the forces of badness that are arrayed against us or whatever, like, that has been a really solid through line, and it's been really fun to experience. When I say fun, I mean, of course, agonizing and full of woe, but here we are, standing courageous anyway.
Absolutely. And I can't wait until all of you kind of get your final banner day, where it's literally the job is done, and seeing who these people are at that point from where we first saw them, seeing what this journey has cost them, and also the way that it has shaped them into becoming legend at that point. Yeah, I'm super duper thrilled. And again, like, it feels appropriately Arthurian to me. That's one of the things that I'm really the most pleased of throughout the story that we've told so far, is that it feels appropriate to those kinds of legends. So thank you. Yeah. Speaking of legends, next up we have Baron.
Hey everybody, I'm Baron. As always, I had a great time. It seems like we have gotten better at our like pacing through what we're trying. We did all our side quests. I'm so excited to see dwarves and a dragon, which will happen at some point, but I'm excited for it to come soon.
I know, dude. We have our second box ticked.
I know, I'm fucking pumped
Holy
right
shit.
now.
I can tell.
I was just thinking, you said we're gonna see where the characters are. I'm more interested where the players are, because like I'll be in my 60s, and
I'm telling you, I'm gonna be in a hospital bed, and I'm gonna say, and that concludes our game, and then just flatline. It'll be like the last thing that I achieve. I'm hoping. We'll see. No, I absolutely love that y'all are willing to stick this out. 5 closing on 6, I think, years in. Who's keeping track anymore, honestly? No, I can't wait. And I do plan, I promise, I do plan on pushing, crunching, getting these next few bullet points in, because I think the ball is definitely over the hump and is now rolling downhill very quickly. So
We've
so
had to have
happy.
unlocked fast travel points at this point, right?
Yeah, that's probably not a bad idea.
Like, we can just click and load on the map. We don't have to walk there anymore.
well, I think it's more like like you said, we did all the side quests, so now we're way over leveled for all the baby encounters that were supposed to be there.
Yep.
That makes sense. It all falls
Twin
into place
Felonarian
now.
would have been really formidable like 10 levels ago, yeah.
You
We all
mean the
got our
first time
legendary
that
gear and stuff like
y'all
that.
came up here?
Right. That guy would have been scary 3 years ago.
Damn, I just realized the first time we came up, we got a taste of what the woods had to offer, and we went back south. Could we have done this part first?
Quite possibly. Yeah,
Damn. Wow.
it was kind of the intention.
How
but-
different that would have been.
Indeed.
Isn't it fun when your players are just like, nah, let's go the opposite direction.
6 years
These woods
later.
are scary. These woods are scary. Let's go home.
Let's go to those
Yeah,
scary
it-
woods instead.
We've seen people getting sacrificed. I'm not real big into the elves, threat of looming sylvan monsters.
Well, I think our attitude at the time was basically like, look, that's none of our business. Let's get out of here.
Right. And then the world was like, hold my beer. Everything's your business.
Oh my god.
Well, I hear if you go through the playthrough without doing Sir John's family quests, without the talent of the falconer sword or whatever, it's really difficult to do the horde faction, but you need the horse rider armor.
So
for
this
the
isn't even
faction.
like an open world RPG. This is a Metroidvania.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah. My next
Yeah.
playthrough, I'm rolling Sir John as a mage. We're gonna see what happens.
Oh, disaster, chaos.
Incredible.
Sir John, light and mage.
I'd have to like, instead of being way down here, it's like, I'm Sir John Lightenade. Mage and all. Here we go.
Mage and all.
Mationor. It's the magic missile of the eagle.
Lightning.
Incredible.
I'm making all my characters monks.
Coco eagle missiles.
It's all our characters, but we're all wearing Ariana's strappy leather armor.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh,
Speaking of Ariana's strappy armor, last but certainly not least, Karen.
It was so much fun to get back into this game. I've missed it so much. I cannot wait for next month when we can play again. I'm also really glad I didn't have to go up and see my mom because I was scared of that.
Better to see your mother-in-law, right?
Yeah. Well,
You
to
didn't
me.
have enough woe?
No, it was a pleasant surprise of, well, there was a lot of woe and I've been dreading all the woe. So I'm glad we had a little bit less woe this time. So yeah, I am, like I said, really, really, really pumped for our next session and where it's going to take us.
Yeah, very much. I guess next we'll be probably heading southward again, back to Ginden's Wall, crossing back into the land of Vykaril, and seeing what we're going to do next. I am super excited to figure out the next leg of our adventure.
What's the next bullet point, Jeremy? Point us in the direction and we're gonna shoot.
You got it.
It's
All right.
the anvil under the mountain.
Yep.
Yes!
Joined at the
Dwarves,
anvil under the
time.
mountain.
It's time.
But
guys-
if you technically think about it, that also implies a dragon, because you gotta heat the metal before you anvilize it. So,
Listen, on the list of
Mm.
things that we wanted to see that we put forth in the very beginning of this, I had 3 things. And one of them was a dragon. So I've been waiting.
well,
Very patiently. I
were
might
you
add.
sure to say the outside of the dragon, not the inside of it? Because
I didn't specify.
oh, fair.
Yeah. Listen, beggars don't get to be choosers.
Why not both?
Well, the inside and the outside of the dragon.
Okay, no,
Toward tacos. Um,
Well, I don't know about all
Or
of you guys and seeing
tacos.
this anvil and dragon thing, but I got a wedding to plan.
or is like,
Oh
peace, y'all.
god, we got the DLC. We downloaded the DLC before we beat the game.
Game just glitches towards the flower girl.
That's not a glitch, that's a feature.
Uninstall.
Unlocked towards
Reinstall.
Flower Girl skin.
It's actually
It's
my
only
best armor.
$19.99. All
It's
It's
my
the
right.
best
in game, but
armor
I'm
for
still
whatever
using the
reason.
Flower Girl build.
The heals are off the charts. Gives
Oh
you
my
an
God,
AoE
amazing.
heal plus temp HP.
Boost morale. All right. This was incredible, y'all. This was a fantastic time. Thank you so much for always just being stellar people and stellar humans, and on top of fantastic players to have in my game. So thank you. Anybody who may have watched along with us this evening or in the future, thank you very much. I love you very much for coming by and enjoying part of this content as entertainment. It blows me away that there are people that invest in this little story that we've been telling as much as they do. So it means a lot to me that you come by and give us a watch. If you did enjoy it, do the stuff that the YouTube algorithm likes to see. Subscribe, hit the like button, share the link around to your friends, talk about it. Share some wotatoes with them. That's a new phrase. You're welcome, and I'm sorry. Last thing that I like to try to say and touch on is, please remember that kindness is a free action. It costs you absolutely nothing to be kind to someone else, and the world really, really, really needs more kindness in it. And if it costs absolutely nothing for you and could make all of the difference in somebody else's day, week, month, year, whatever, I mean, why not? Why not give that exchange? That is something that we should all be willing to do. So yeah, be kind. All right, we're gonna go ahead and call it here. Thank you all very, very much once again. And until next time, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach.
Check